All right, guys, I am back with another episode of the Well Balanced series. Let's look. Maybe that's better. Okay, so I'm talking to Sam today, and I'm super excited. We've connected through Instagram, and she is a pending nutritional therapy practitioner with me. So we're graduating in just a few weeks. We're so super excited, and I'm going to chat with her today about just mindful living, stress management, nutrition, movement, all that good stuff. So I'm going to add her in really quickly. Let me see. Hold on. Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Okay. Am I slow? Because on my side it looks like I'm delayed.
So far, it looks good to me.
Okay. Awesome. Well, if that happens, we'll just keep going with it. Technology, you just never know,
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I'll just delay to ask questions like you're on the news. You have to wait like 5 seconds for someone to respond.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and thanks for joining with me.
Thanks for
I
having
am
me.
super pumped to obviously meet you. Maybe one day we'll have an NTP hangout.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so want to start with just like an introduction to you, a little bit about your journey, kind of like what got you into, this whole wellness part of life, but also the functional medicine approach. And kind of a little bit about like what you've kind of gone through to get you to this point and all that. So we'll start there.
Great. Well, first, thank you for having me. It's great to meet you finally, kind of in person.
I know.
It's so funny. I feel like we've been like communicating for months now, and it's fun when you finally get to like see someone, even if it's on a screen.
Right.
Okay, so my background is actually my degree is in fashion merchandising, so my path has not been like linear at all. Um, I just didn't really know what my path was going to be after college. I really wanted to move to a big city and like pursue the fashion industry. But I'm from the Midwest, born and raised, and we have a tendency, I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone, but it's really hard to like uproot and move away from your family. So it was really hard for me. So it ended up just not being the right fit, and I wanted to stay closer to home. So I kind of pivoted my career into more marketing. Um, and I never felt like I liked the jobs that I had, but it never just felt like my passion, like I just felt like I was working. And I knew that there just had to be more for me. And it wasn't until after college, actually more into my late 20s. I'm 32. So around 27, I think I started to deal with some hormonal imbalance after quitting birth control. I just was starting to feel like severe anxiety and just like wasn't feeling like myself. And I started reading some books, specifically Woman Code by Alyssa Vitti or
Mm-hmm.
Elisa Vitti. And that kind of like changed everything for me. I was like, wait, I never even once considered that it could have been my birth control pill that was making me feel all of these symptoms. So I just kind of decided that day, like, I'm quitting. And the reason I was put on it to begin with was for debilitating cramps when I was a teen. So I had read like that those could come back with a vengeance once I quit. And I was just like, you know what? I'm either going to deal with it now or later someday. I'm going to have to quit eventually. So let's just do this. And with that came a lot of challenges. I was struggling with acne, and the cramps came back really, really bad, really long, heavy period, all the classic PMS symptoms. But for the first time in my adult life, I like felt like myself, like that anxiety went away. Like it almost felt like this fog lifted. And I know everyone has their own experiences and their own reasons for being on birth control, so I would never judge someone else's choice. But for me personally, it just felt like I finally was waking up from like this haze. It's really hard to describe, but so I started dealing with all of these issues. And so I was like, got really interested in the holistic side of health. And I was actually going to do health coaching. So this was like maybe around 5, 6 years ago. And I started looking into that, but just the time in my life that I was in, it just like wasn't aligning. But I always had it in the back of my mind, like maybe I would pivot into that realm at some point. Um, and then throughout that time, like I became a yoga instructor. I got Pilates mat certified and just like started to really incorporate more, just like how can I do this on the side outside of my full-time job? Like how can I incorporate just like making people feel better. And I started teaching during the pandemic. So I saw how, everyone was so stressed. And I just
Mm-hmm.
saw how much movement helped people. And I started an online, I guess I called it like my online studio. And that helped me get through that rough 2020 time period. I know it helped so many other people, but it helped me. Even like my core group that would come 3 times a week, log on to Zoom, like I just felt like I had purpose outside of my full-time job. And like, at that time we were staying home a lot, not sure what was going on. And so that just like really gave me so much peace and like drive. And I think that's what jump started like, okay, I need to do this. Like I am seeing how much mindfulness and yoga is helping transform people's lives and how much it's helped transform my life. Um, I want to do this. Like, what else can I do? And then that's when I found the NTA and enrolled in September. And it was just like the perfect program. And, something about health coaching that I was interested in was, helping people. But what I really was drawn to with the NTA was like the science back
Right.
approach to the education. Like it gave so much more in depth about the body and about the foundations of nutrition and everything. Um, so I guess that's kind of what led me to here today. I'm still working full time and teaching on the side. I do private classes and I teach in studio here in Milwaukee. Um, but I'm just really looking forward to kind of combining that movement aspect with nutrition, just to help women like really heal, basically. And I've like been able to watch myself go through transitions of healing over the last couple of years using movement and food. And so I just really want to be able to help other people that way as well.
I
So
love
that's
that.
that's kind of my background.
Yeah, no, I love that you also have been in the fitness world because I think, it's important to have that perspective and it really shows how they go together in a lot of ways, and it's like, I think the mindfulness especially became more important and more sought after after the pandemic too. And I think the mental health component, which is who I talked to Deidre last week, and we were talking about mental health, and it was just, so I'm just so grateful that that's becoming a priority for people, and it's kind of like becoming a staple within your journey in all ways because we need it and it's so important. But like exercise is a great form of stress relief, but also it can
Hmm.
be very detrimental. So it's just finding the balance there. And I think um, I personally have never been like a yogi. I've never gotten into it, but I've always
Yeah.
loved it. I just never like religiously go. But whenever I do the classes, I'm like, I just feel so much better. You just feel so relieved and zen, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I think it's so
Yeah.
cool that you have that perspective.
Thank you. Yeah, as someone who, I mean, you've had so many amazing guests on here already who have spoken on cycle syncing and like cycle syncing your workouts. And I think that's what ultimately had me returning to my mat. I used to practice yoga like since I was 16, but I really didn't start practicing again until the last couple of years just to really deal with stress and also because my body was just done. I was doing so many HIIT workouts. I was traveling for work. So I was like going to Soul Cycle a ton. When I was traveling, I'd like work 12, 14-hour days and like get up at 5 a.m. and go to Soul Cycle
Ugh.
and like wasn't listening to my body at all. Just didn't want to you know, go off track when I was traveling and like felt like that was the best thing for me, but it was actually like causing so much damage. So that's when I returned back to yoga and just was like, okay, maybe I just need to take this more mindful approach to exercise. And um, it just kind of changed the game for me. Like it made me realize that it made me go back to what exercise I think, what the main purpose of exercising should be. Um, and it really helped me tune into like listening to my body and what it needs on any given day. And yeah, it's just been very transformative. And over the last couple of years, I've incorporated weight training again, but my yoga practice is kind of what has kept me grounded throughout that time. And I definitely recommend it for anyone, yeah, who just needs to find stress relief in their life. And, you know, even 10 minutes a day of like mindful breathing
Mm-hmm.
has shown to make such a difference for so many people. Like, you know, yoga doesn't have to be going into the studio and doing all of these poses. It can be as simple as just finding stillness for a few minutes and really focusing on your breath. Um, which, as you know, from being in the NTA as well, like stress, you know, makes such a difference in all areas of our health. So I think
Absolutely.
if we're neglecting that aspect, if we're not really focusing on how to relieve stress in our everyday lives, like we're not going to be able to address digestion. We're not going to be able to address, you know, sleeping problems or any of these other bigger problems. Um, so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
That's okay. I ramble too. I'm just like, this
Okay,
is what I
great,
want to say right now.
great.
No, I think I can totally relate to those 5 a.m. wake ups. That was horrible, especially when you would wake up and then you would be sick, but there's no one to cover your shift. So then you have to do the workout with like imagine that in today's world. That wouldn't happen. But it's just like
Yep.
crazy to think about, the amount of stress, internal and external, that was happening. And then no wonder I was getting sick literally like maybe every other month. It was so bad.
I know, me too.
And
And I also was so inflamed. Like I look at pictures of myself when I was working out the most and like my face was just holding on to so much, like I was so puffy and like I just could tell I did not feel good and my digestion was not even happening at all. And, you know, but yet I still just thought that that was the right thing to do. And like, you know, the protein shakes and
hmm
skipping breakfast and intermittent fasting and like all these things that I think have just become trends and people have lost sight of like really tuning in and listening to their body and like what feels good in their body and what does their body need during any given time within their cycle and the month and what's going on with their life and yeah, super important.
yeah, I think listening to your body is so important. Like we're all different, but also, you know, I've been doing a lot more reading into the hormonal shifts too, and it's just you don't have to stick to that cycle and phase so religiously. If you're feeling more energized, you can add more intensity. You can do different things. You can support your body in different ways. And I think the movement part can get a lot of women because, of course, less is more sometimes. But then also, you don't have to give up running. You don't have to give up the things that you do enjoy. It's just there is a time and a place for those things. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you want to maximize your results, right? And you want to obviously see and feel good. But I think it's so ingrained in our brains that we have to do this and checking the block and doing all these things that even like I was talking to Tone It Down too, and she was, I stopped everything and just walked for 6 months, and it was like the
I
best thing I ever
know
did.
that was
And it's like,
inspiring for sure.
yeah, it was cool to hear because people just walking is just like not quote unquote a workout. And so it's just sad that we've gotten to this point that, it's like you are basically all in or all out and you have to give up things that you enjoy, but finding that balance and listening to what you need is just that's truly it. And it just there's no secret formula. It's just, you know,
Yeah,
take a risk. If it doesn't go as you plan, just adjust for the next time. So,
exactly. Totally agree.
um, So I'm curious from your healing journey so far and just kind of like where you've been in the past with, all the things that you've learned from training days and all those things. What are some things that you used to believe that you thought were healthy and that you've kind of learned to debunk and, obviously hope to help train women on that are kind of the popular myths and things like that, would you say?
I think the biggest ones for me personally, currently, I'm also seeing a practitioner right now just because I'm going through some healing that I need to do as well. And I just needed some extra support. And so it's been really helpful working with her rather than just like trying to figure it out on my own. Um, and just the unlearning I've had to do with her, but also like over the last year or two, since being in the NTA, like things that we've learned where you're like, wait, I didn't know that that was good. Or, we've gotten to this place in our society where we've labeled so many things as good versus bad. Um, Clean, like I hate the term clean eating at this point just because it's like, and I know people mean it in a well-intentioned way, and I still say it sometimes, like, oh, clean ingredients, but it's like, I think the biggest thing I've learned and taken from the NTA is like, rather than what can we remove, it's like, what can we add in? When we're supporting those foundations, like, yes, there might be certain things that maybe don't make us feel our best, and we might be aware of that and monitor that. But I think I've just changed my perspective. Like, it's more, okay, if I know I'm going to be going to this birthday party with my friends and I'm going to have a great time, there's no stress there. It's now like, what can I do for my breakfast and lunch to kind of set me up just so I feel better? And like, I'm going to bed and getting good sleep and drinking water and all these things. Like, so that's been huge. Just like, rather than, I came from such a restriction mindset, as I'm sure many people in this space have. I used to do Whole30s like every year, and then I would beat myself up if I didn't make it through the 30 days, and I'd force myself to start from day one. And like, just this constant feeling of shame around food. I don't even know why or when, I guess I do know why. Like, our society just has ingrained that in us. So the biggest thing for me has just been like, rather than restricting foods, it's like, what can I add in that's nutrient dense? Like, how can I make sure I'm getting proper minerals and vitamins every day and like eating super brightly colored foods and, quality protein and all these things. But it's like also life needs to be lived. So taking away the stress around food has been really empowering, I would say.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah, so that's huge. And then also like I totally fell into like the green smoothie trap. Um, I still like smoothies in the summer, but I used to just like chug a green smoothie. It would be like, half a banana
Same.
because you couldn't have the full banana. Then be like all spinach or kale and then plant-based milk and like some pea protein that like I don't, was like clean ingredients, pea protein. Um, and I would just like chug that on the way to work. And I thought that was great. I would like go to the gym and then I would bring my smoothie and like drink the smoothie after the gym and like thought, okay, I just set my day up for success. And I wasn't, my digestion was horrible. Like, I felt bloated. I just like didn't feel good, not to mention I was starving. I know smoothies work for some people, but like I always just was like hungry immediately. But I was like, okay, that's fine. Like just ignore the hunger.
Right.
Normal behavior for
Well,
me.
and I never even thought about chewing it. Like now, when we learned about
No.
that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's why you should chew it. And for those listening, like chewing gets those, salivary enzymes involved and allows you to really think that you're eating food. But smoothies are food, and we just tend to chug them. And I
Yep.
never realized that either. So I was doing the same thing. And then
Yeah.
I would make it like the night before sometimes, just if I did have a super early morning, and it would just get all gross. And I was like, I don't
Oh,
even want this. And then I wouldn't eat anything. It was just
I
bad.
know. And then I also like when it got to like the worst part um of my journey, whatever that I want to call that, I wasn't even like putting banana in. I would put cauliflower in. Like I would put all of these raw cruciferous veggies that just are known to be really harsh on our digestive system. Not to mention, like, you're totally putting out your digestive fire by like guzzling this cold liquid. Like sometimes in the dead of winter in Wisconsin, it would be like 20 below zero, and I'd be like chugging this like cauliflower smoothie on the way to work. Like, okay, red flags. So I think that's been huge. Just like taking away those like food rules and also taking away those trends from my diet, or like, do I even want to drink a smoothie? Like sometimes I do. It sounds good to me, but I'm not like, it's just less about forcing things that you think are healthy or you think are the right thing to eat. Um, and yeah, just focusing more on like nutrient density and eating more. That's been another one. I just didn't realize like how little food I was consuming, especially as someone who teaches yoga or goes to the gym, is active. Like, I never wanted to eat as much as my partner. Like, I always wanted to like make sure his portion was bigger than mine. And like, that's just so wrong. But at the time, that felt normal. So that's been huge too, is just like, making sure I'm getting quality nutrients, quality protein in every serving, and like really eating until I feel nourished. And so that's been something that's been game changing. And I feel like I have the NTA to thank for that too. Just learning more about what our bodies need. So yeah,
For
that's
sure.
been huge.
And I think like, it's always, more calories equals more weight and blah, blah, blah. And that's the mindset that you learn in fitness too. But it's just, that's not necessarily the case. And that's a whole other conversation. But it's just more,
Yeah.
like the actual, I don't know, like the nourishment about it and the actual like approach to it, and that your body may change, like your weight may change, but that also means you're healing, and that means you're
Mm-hmm.
safe. And I think that especially in the reproductive years too, like with women our age, like we are chronically under eating, and it's just and then of course with birth control and all the other things that we've dealt with, like it's no wonder that we're having issues, conceiving and all these things. And it's sad.
Yeah.
It's frustrating and sad, and it's just like it sucks because, we just wish that we had known and kind of approached things a different way. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just like the norm, like us normalizing those different weights. Like I know my body's changed since I've left, the fitness industry, and also started eating better and doing different things. And I've just come, you have to come to love that and be okay with that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's mentally very hard, but I think it's just like baby steps that we can do. And, again, how you feel versus how you look, and focusing on those kind of things.
Yes, 100%. I think since, I've been working one-on-one too, like just things have changed with my body, and but I feel so much better, and like my digestion is better, and like it is a really hard mental shift. But I saw something on Instagram a couple weeks ago. I can't remember the exact quote that someone posted, but it was like your ideal weight might not be your ideal weight or something. Like it was some type of shift in perspective of like what you think is like your ideal body size like might not be what your ideal body size actually should be for like proper fertility and
Right.
hormone balance and all of these things. So I think that's just like a huge mental shift that so many women have to make, but once you do and you really start to like feel better, I think it's worth it for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think and I was talking, wanted to talk to you about the healing journey just in general, like especially since you're going back to see someone, it's like I've done the functional medicine thing. I did hormone panels a few years ago, but didn't have any idea about minerals at the time. And then, it's like you're kind of piecing together the things that you need to do, and then like recently have experienced different symptoms, and so kind of navigating that. But it's constantly changing. Your body's constantly, you're never going to be like 100% in every area. But I think
No.
it's just what's like the holistic picture. Like overall, are you feeling good? Are you, thriving? And of course, if pregnancy and those things are goals of yours. Are you achieving those goals? Are you able to have,
Right.
bounce back quickly and those kinds of things? But yeah, I think the healing process is not linear by any means, but
Right.
it's just crazy
Yeah.
how, you know, how all over the place that can be. And we're constantly going to be healing for the rest of our lives. So I
Exactly.
think
Yep.
people have that approach. But yeah, just curious on like your perspective with like kind of what drove you to, obviously some symptoms probably, but like kind of drove you to work with somebody versus like navigating it on your own, or if you had worked with somebody in the past and kind of saw some changes, like what was that like for you?
I think that the main reason that I pulled the trigger on enrolling in the NTA is because I wanted to get to the root cause of my issues that I've been dealing with on and off for my whole life. And so that was the initial reason I joined. I knew I wanted to help people. So my main goal was like heal myself, figure out what's going on, and then be able to help other women who are in the same position as me. But as you know, like school is a lot of work. It's been stressful. I work full time. I'm doing all these things. I'm getting married in September, so I'm planning
Yeah,
a wedding.
you're a crazy lady all over the
Yeah,
place.
just a lot going on. So I was like, why am I putting this pressure on myself to like figure out what's going on with me too? Like, a therapist wouldn't try to, do therapy on themselves, or a doctor wouldn't treat themselves. Like, just because we're practitioners doesn't mean we have it all figured out. Like, I am dealing with hormonal acne right now and digestive things, and I'm still kind of, my cycle is not exactly where I want it to be. And like, I think a lot of people, and even clients I've worked with so far already, like they think that we just like live these perfect lives and that we don't feel anything, and or that we don't feel any distress in our day to day, and like that's not true because we're human. So I ultimately knew that working with someone would help take some of that pressure off myself, but also working with someone who has been doing this for a while and has that expertise and has that background to really help support me was huge. So I think it's just amazing working one-on-one. I had done many like different programs in the past. I'd never really done like a group coaching or one-on-one. I had more done like different ebooks or different apps or different things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And those were helpful in their own way, but there is just something about having someone who you can
It's already written.
You're good. Having someone who you can really like talk to, a real human who can like, you can share what's going on and they can help support you and answer questions. And if anything, this process has made me even more excited to work one-on-one with clients, and like just being able to see, I'm sure you've talked about it before on here, but when we do our nutritional assessment questionnaire and it shows this graph of all of our, all of the foundations and where we're at. And my graph was like, everything was a high priority, like exclamation points all at the top. And even since February, things have moved, like so many of them have moved down to medium priority already. And like just seeing myself as an example of how powerful nutritional therapy is has like motivated me even more to work with people. I just think having that support, even if we might like know what we should be doing, it's like sometimes we don't know it all. We just don't.
No, there's so much information.
There's so much information, and we're all different, and everyone has different perspectives. And but also like just having that accountability and having that support is huge. I don't think I would have done a lot of the things that I knew would be better for me, like I don't want to say forcing myself because I don't force myself to do or eat anything, but like one thing she pointed out for me was that I was not eating enough protein. And I looked at my diet and I was like, wow, I was eating mostly plant-based. Even though I, have always eaten animal products, I just like wasn't eating a lot of them. And so, I would get to my dinner or I'd be cooking and I kind of have her in the back of my mind, like reminding me, okay, how much, like, are you getting enough protein in this meal? And so just that accountability and support, I think helped me achieve some of those goals that I really wanted to work on. So yeah, so
I love that.
yeah, I highly recommend that even, people in this space who are doing this professionally, like see someone else. Sometimes like they'll just think of things too that we don't think of, like even in our I'm working with other NTP students right now and we're in a study group and it's like we'll ask each other client questions, and I know now we've been reaching out to each other. Someone just might have like a perspective that
Yeah.
we've never thought of before, so it's just really helpful
Yeah, no, I
for
totally
support.
agree. I think it's like, you just can get so in your lifestyle that you just tend to forget the little things that can make a big impact. And I was
Mm-hmm.
even talking to another practitioner. She's gone through like the RWP, like multiple rounds, and she's very grateful for all the knowledge she's learned. But she was like, I was getting so stuck on like these intense protocols, and apparently like the supplement lists are like 20-fold for each one. And I was like, oh gosh. So, she was like, I needed to just step back and be like, the foundations are why I was originally even going to the NTA and what motivated me to even try this journey in the beginning. And so it was like, as much as there's always deeper and deeper and deeper things that you can do for somebody, but like at what point is it like I'm content and I'm happy with what I'm going through and I feel like I've improved to the ways that I wanted to, that I don't need to do like 10, 15 other things or however many more
Yeah,
supplements. You know what I mean? Like, so
exactly.
I think it's just cool to see how everyone's so different and the way that
Hmm.
they feel. But obviously, just feeling good and knowing that you're getting to the root cause and that any issues you're having are getting resolved. But yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's just, you can give advice away all day long, but sometimes it's really hard to listen to your own advice.
Yes,
So
totally
I think that that's where it comes from.
agree.
But
Yep.
well, speaking of you and how people can come to work with you now that we're gearing the end here, we're
Yeah.
nearing the end. Explain to them kind of like where people can find you and how they can support you moving forward, and we'll leave it at that.
Great. Yeah. So, mainly I post on Instagram. I have an email list you can find in my bio where I'll share when I'm officially open for business, which I'm so excited about. I'm ready. I just am like so excited and eager to help women, just, yeah, who are in the same position as me and just remind them that they're not alone and healing isn't a straight path and it takes time, which are things I need to remind myself. But
Me too.
yeah, but there's so many of us practitioners out there who can support and who have been in your shoes. And yeah, so I'm excited. So yeah, you can find me at Que Sera Sera Wellness for now. I'm probably going to go through a little brand change when I get married and might shift some things around. But so you can follow me and just, yeah, see how this journey unfolds as I start taking on clients. And yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to finish school. We're almost there.
I know.
Um, so close. But whenever and if ever you do update your handle, once I post this video, I'll make sure to update it so people can always find you.
Great.
Um, but it was a joy talking to you, and
Yes, you too.
hopefully we'll connect in person sometime soon. But I wish you the
Yeah.
best with your wedding, and I hope that you enjoy every minute and don't stress about it.
Okay, easier
I mean,
said
as
than
best
done,
as
but
you
I'll
can.
try. Yeah,
Hey,
it's getting closer, so I'm like starting to really just enjoy the process now. So that's good.
exactly. At this point, majority of it's been done, so the little
Yep,
things you're not even gonna remember. So worth
exactly.
it.
Well, thank
Well, have
you.
a great day. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
you
Thanks
too.
for chatting. Bye.
Bye.